The Quartermain family is about to face one of the most devastating betrayals in their storied history. Veronica Ronnie Bard, Monica Quartermain's sister who unexpectedly inherited the iconic mansion, has made a shocking decision that will send shockwaves through Port Charles. After her brief stint in town, Ronnie has announced she's selling the Quartermain estate to Drew Kane and returning home, leaving the family stunned and scrambling. Erica Slezak, the legendary actress portraying Ronnie, signed on for only a short-term contract with General Hospital, and her character's departure was inevitable. However, no one anticipated the explosive exit that would change everything for the Quartermains. In the aftermath of Monica's death, Ronnie arrived in Port Charles as her previously unmentioned younger sister, inheriting the family mansion to everyone's surprise. Her time in town has been anything but peaceful, marked by tensions with Tracy Quartermain and an uncomfortable adjustment to Port Charles society. Ronnie's discontent with Port Charles life. From the moment she arrived, Ronnie struggled to find her place in Port Charles. Despite Brooke Lynn Quartermain's well-intentioned efforts to welcome her into the community, including hosting an elaborate tea party with the town's most prominent women, Ronnie never felt at home. The disastrous tea party, where Ronnie was allegedly drugged, became a turning point in her relationship with the Quartermain family, particularly Tracy. The incident left Ronnie feeling vulnerable and out of place among Port Charles elite. Her decision to kick Tracy out of the mansion demonstrated her growing frustration with the family dynamics and her determination to assert her authority as the new owner. However, this assertiveness masked a deeper truth: Ronnie simply didn't want to be part of this world. The mansion, the family drama, and the social obligations all felt suffocating to someone who preferred a quieter, more peaceful existence. Ronnie made it clear through her actions and words that she felt uncomfortable in her new role as a Quartermain matriarch. The lavish lifestyle, the constant family conflicts, and the expectations placed upon her as Monica's heir weighed heavily on her conscience. Unlike the other Quartermains who thrived on drama and power struggles, Ronnie longed for the simplicity of her former life. Drew's calculated approach. Enter Drew Kane, the congressman who has become one of Port Charles's most controversial figures. Drew, who was notably excluded from Monica's will and banned from the Quartermain estate, saw an opportunity in Ronnie's discomfort. He began cultivating a relationship with her, positioning himself as a fellow outsider who understood what it felt like to be rejected by the Quartermain family. Drew's strategy was carefully calculated. He painted himself as someone who had been mistreated by the family, just as Ronnie felt she had been mistreated, particularly by Tracy. He emphasized their shared experiences of feeling unwelcome and underappreciated, creating a bond based on mutual resentment. Drew's smooth-talking and relatable sob story began to resonate with Ronnie, despite warnings from others about his true character. During their conversations, Drew made Ronnie an offer she couldn't refuse: he would purchase the Quartermain mansion from her at a price that would allow her to live comfortably anywhere she chose. For Ronnie, this represented freedom, a chance to escape Port Charles with financial security and return to the peaceful life she craved. Despite witnessing some of Drew's more questionable behavior, including his harsh treatment of teenagers Danny and Rocco, Ronnie ultimately decided to accept his proposal. The devastating announcement. Before leaving Port Charles, Ronnie drops a bombshell that leaves the entire Quartermain family reeling. She announces that she has sold the mansion to Drew, making him the new owner of the family's ancestral home. The revelation comes as a complete shock to everyone. Tracy, Ned, Brooke Lynn, Jason, and Michael are all blindsided by the news. The family's reaction is one of horror and disbelief. They cannot fathom that Ronnie would sell their beloved home to Drew, of all people. The Quartermains are acutely aware of Drew's deep-seated animosity toward the family, stemming from years of feeling like an outsider despite being Alan Quartermain's biological son. His recent behavior, including his affair with Willow, his manipulation of Michael, and his ruthless political maneuvering, has only intensified their distrust of him. Tracy Quartermain is particularly devastated by the news. After recently reconciling with Monica and spending the last years of her sister-in-law's life building a genuine relationship with her, Tracy is crushed to see the family home fall into Drew's hands. The announcement sends Tracy into a spiral, and she is seen drowning her sorrows in alcohol, unable to process the magnitude of this betrayal. Ned tries desperately to reason with his mother, but Tracy is inconsolable. She had fought so hard to maintain the Quartermain legacy, and now it seemed all her efforts were for nothing. The mansion that had been in the family for decades, the home where generations of Quartermains had lived, loved, and built their empire, was now in the hands of someone who appeared to hate everything they stood for. The family's fury. The Quartermain family directs their anger squarely at Ronnie for making such a monumental decision without consulting them. Brooke Lynn, who had worked tirelessly to make Ronnie feel welcome and keep the mansion in the family, feels particularly betrayed. Her efforts to integrate Ronnie into Port Charles society and show her the value of the Quartermain legacy now seem wasted. Jason Morgan and Michael Corinthos are equally furious. Both men have deep connections to the mansion. Jason was raised there and recently reconciled with Monica before her death, while Michael lived there with his children and considered Monica one of his most important family connections. The thought of Drew, who has caused so much pain to their family, now controlling their home is unbearable. The family accuses Ronnie of acting selfishly and thoughtlessly. They argue that even if she didn't want to keep the mansion herself, she should have offered it to another family member, someone who would honor Monica's memory and preserve the Quartermain legacy. Instead, she chose to sell it to the one person who would use it as a weapon against them. Understanding Drew's hatred. The Quartermains understand all too well why Drew acquiring the mansion is so dangerous. Drew has long harbored resentment toward the family, feeling that he was denied the privileged upbringing that his twin brother Jason received. Even though Drew was raised separately due to circumstances beyond anyone's control, he has always believed the Quartermains chose Jason over him. This deep-seated jealousy has manifested in increasingly destructive behavior. Drew's affair with Willow, his manipulation of Michael's marriage, his blackmailing of Portia Robinson, and his ruthless political tactics have all been fueled by his desire for revenge against those he perceives as having wronged him. Now, with ownership of the Quartermain mansion, Drew has the ultimate power to hurt the family that rejected him. The family fears that Drew will use his new position to evict them from the property, particularly Jason, Michael, Danny, and other family members he views as enemies. Drew's recent actions, including having Tracy arrested and threatening Danny and Rocco, demonstrate that he is willing to go to extreme lengths to assert his dominance. With legal ownership of the mansion, he could force the entire family out onto the streets, destroying the Quartermain legacy in one devastating move. Ronnie's departure and justification. Despite the family's fury, Ronnie stands by her decision. From her perspective, she was never truly part of the Quartermain family. She was Monica's sister, but she had lived her own separate life for decades. The inheritance caught her by surprise, and she never asked for the responsibility of maintaining the family estate or navigating the complex dynamics of Port Charles society. Ronnie explains that she is returning to her hometown, a place where she feels at peace and where life is simpler. She emphasizes that the money from the sale will allow her to live comfortably without the stress and drama that comes with being a Quartermain in Port Charles. While she acknowledges the family's anger, she believes she has every right to do what she wants with her inheritance. Before she leaves, Ronnie makes it clear that she harbors no ill will toward most of the family members. Her issues were primarily with Tracy. However, she also refuses to be guilted into staying or changing her mind about the sale. In her view, Drew's money is as good as anyone else's, and his personal vendetta against the Quartermains is not her concern. Erica Slezak's portrayal of Ronnie has been met with mixed reactions from fans, with some enjoying her brief appearance and others wishing her character had been stronger or more similar to her iconic One Life to Live character, Vicky. Regardless of fan opinions, Ronnie's short-term contract means her exit was always planned, and selling the mansion to Drew provides a dramatic conclusion to her storyline. The aftermath and uncertain future. As Ronnie prepares to leave Port Charles, the Quartermain family faces an uncertain future. With Drew now in control of the mansion, they must confront the possibility of losing their home and everything it represents. The family estate, which has been a symbol of Quartermain power and legacy for generations, is now a weapon in the hands of their enemy. Some family members are already exploring legal options to challenge the sale or find loopholes that might prevent Drew from taking full ownership. Cody Bell seeks legal advice, while others in the family scramble to understand their rights and options. However, if the sale was conducted legally and Ronnie had full authority to sell as the rightful heir, their options may be limited. Tracy is particularly determined to fight back, though her methods remain unclear. She has never been one to accept defeat gracefully, and many expect her to wage a fierce battle to protect the Quartermain name and legacy. However, even Tracy's formidable will and resources may not be enough to undo what Ronnie has done. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Drew is not just a private citizen, he is now a congressman with political connections and power. His public position gives him additional leverage and protection, making it even more difficult for the Quartermains to fight against him. Any legal battle could become a public spectacle, potentially damaging the family's reputation even further. Jason, Michael, Brooke Lynn, Ned, and the other family members must now decide how to respond to this crisis. Will they band together to fight Drew, or will internal conflicts and past grudges prevent them from presenting a united front? The Quartermain family has survived many challenges over the years, but this betrayal, coming so soon after Monica's death, may be one of their greatest tests yet. Ronnie Bard's decision to sell the Quartermain mansion to Drew Kane marks a turning point in General Hospital's ongoing saga. Her departure from Port Charles may be peaceful for her, but she leaves behind chaos, anger, and heartbreak. The family that tried to welcome her now sees her as a traitor who prioritized her own comfort over honoring Monica's memory and preserving the Quartermain legacy. Drew's acquisition of the mansion represents the culmination of his long-standing vendetta against the family that rejected him. With this purchase, he has positioned himself to inflict maximum damage on the Quartermains, and the family knows that their worst fears may soon be realized. As Drew takes ownership and Ronnie returns to her quiet life elsewhere, the Quartermains must confront the possibility that everything they've built, and everything Monica fought to preserve, may be lost forever. The coming weeks will reveal whether the family can find a way to reclaim their home or if Drew's victory is complete. One thing is certain, Port Charles will never be the same, and the Quartermain family's future hangs in the balance as they face the consequences of Ronnie's shocking decision. Next, we will learn about the escalating tensions between brothers Dante Falconeri and Michael Corinthos, as suspicions brew over a potential frame job that could shatter their family bonds forever. In the shadowy undercurrents of Port Charles, Detective Dante Falconeri has turned his sharp gaze toward his own flesh and blood, Michael Corinthos, questioning whether his brother has crossed a dangerous line. Dante's instincts, honed from years on the force, are firing on all cylinders, driven by Michael's increasingly erratic behavior that screams deception. It all started when Michael made the heart-wrenching decision to whisk away his newborn daughter, Daisy Corinthos Gilmore, to a secure location far from the chaos of their lives, citing an overwhelming fear that Willow Tate's thirst for vengeance had spiraled out of control. He painted Willow as a ticking time bomb, insisting she posed an imminent threat to their young children, Wiley and Amelia Corinthos, whose innocent lives hung in the balance amid the escalating family feud. Michael's voice trembled as he described late-night worries, imagining Willow's unresolved anger boiling over into something irreversible, like a storm cloud ready to unleash lightning on their fragile world. This protective streak, while understandable, felt overly calculated to Dante, who wondered if it masked a deeper agenda of manipulation. But Michael's actions took a bewildering turn that only fueled Dante's doubts, flipping from outright rejection to a sudden olive branch that reeked of setup. After weeks of barring Willow from their home and echoing warnings to anyone who would listen about her instability, Michael abruptly extended an invitation for supervised visitation, framing it as a step toward reconciliation for the kids' sake. The gathering unfolded in a tense atmosphere at the Corinthos estate, with neutral observers present to ensure civility, but it quickly devolved into pandemonium when authorities swooped in, handcuffing Willow right there in front of Wiley and Amelia's wide-eyed stares. The children's cries echoed through the room as Willow was dragged away, her face a mask of betrayal and fury. She wasted no time pointing an accusatory finger straight at Michael, claiming he orchestrated the entire arrest as a ploy to tarnish her reputation and keep her away permanently. Dante, witnessing the fallout from afar, felt a chill run down his spine, not just from the drama, but from the nagging sense that Willow's words rang with raw truth, unfiltered by lies. Dante's confrontation with Michael was inevitable, erupting in a heated exchange that peeled back layers of brotherly trust like an onion revealing its stinging core. Pulling Michael aside to the secluded Quartermain patio, away from prying eyes inside the grand mansion, Dante laid it all out with the precision of a seasoned interrogator, his badge metaphorically pinned to his chest even in this personal moment. The autumn breeze rustled the leaves around them as Dante pressed, "What really happened back there? Willow's not the type to fabricate something this damaging. Did you pull strings to make her look guilty?" Michael's response was an explosive denial, his fists clenching at his sides as he shot back that if he'd truly wanted harm, Drew Kane would be 6 feet under from that earlier shooting incident, not just recovering in a hospital bed. Yet, Dante's detective senses tingled. He could see the flicker of evasion in Michael's eyes, the subtle shift in posture that hinted at withheld truths. Inventing a new twist, imagine if Michael had quietly tipped off an old associate from his Quartermain business days to monitor Willow's movements, ensuring the arrest timed perfectly, details like anonymous calls to the precinct or planted evidence in her belongings that Dante later uncovers through routine checks. As the dust settled from their patio showdown, Michael's defensiveness mirrored a younger Sonny Corinthos in his prime, that fiery temper and unyielding loyalty to family above all else, even if it meant bending the rules. Fans have long speculated about Michael's internal tug-of-war between his polished corporate image and the gritty Corinthos legacy, but this incident pushes him perilously close to the edge. Dante didn't mince words, reminding Michael of past family fractures caused by unchecked ambition, like the time Sonny's empire nearly cost them everything during the Cassadine threats years ago. Michael's retort carried an edge of resentment, accusing Dante of wearing his cop hat too tightly, but deep down, the seed of doubt had been planted. Adding inventive depth, picture Michael confiding in a late-night call to his mother Carly, spilling frustrations about how Dante's probing felt like a betrayal, only for Carly to warn him that history repeats itself in Port Charles, urging him to rein in his impulses before they consume him entirely. The interrogation vibe was palpable, with Dante dissecting every syllable from Michael as if he were any street suspect in an alley lineup, not the brother he grew up protecting. Their voices rose in hushed urgency on that patio, the Quartermaine estate's opulent gardens providing ironic cover for this rift. No one indoors, sipping tea with Monica or chatting with Ned, had a clue about the storm brewing outside. Dante clarified he approached as family first, but his crossed arms and piercing stare betrayed the cop within, evoking memories of his own clashes with Sonny over illegal dealings, like the waterfront warehouse busts that tested their bond to the breaking point. Is Dante prematurely siding with Willow? His impartial nature suggests not, yet the chip on his shoulder seemed preloaded, perhaps triggered by Michael's recent alliances with shady investors in the Aurora media empire, whispers of which Dante had overheard at the police station. In a fresh narrative layer, envision Dante reviewing security footage from the visitation, spotting a familiar face in the background, a Corinthos loyalist, who vanishes just before the cops arrive, adding fuel to his suspicions and prompting a deeper dive into Michael's network. Echoes of "like father, like son" resonate louder than ever, as Michael's maneuvers hint at an awakening to his Corinthos heritage, the kind that thrives in gray areas of morality. Once the golden child of the Quartermaine legacy, Michael has always danced on the periphery of Sonny's world, but now, with calculated risks to safeguard his children, he's stepping fully into those shadows. Supporters of this theory point to his unyielding protection of Wiley and Amelia, justifying any means necessary, much like Sonny's ruthless defense of his own during the Jerome family wars. If Michael truly engineered Willow's arrest, perhaps by leaking fabricated documents about her past to prosecutors, he's not just compromising, he's evolving into the next guardian of the family empire. Sonny's looming retirement adds urgency, with health scares and legal battles piling up, the mob throne sits vacant, and Michael's darkening path could position him as heir apparent. Inventing further intrigue, suppose Michael attends a clandestine meeting at the haunted Star Casino, hashing out business with Valentine Cassadine, blending corporate espionage with underworld tactics, a sign that his transformation is accelerating beyond mere family squabbles. As Port Charles teeters on the brink of more revelations, Dante's pursuit of the truth could unearth not just a frame job, but a full unraveling of the Corinthos dynasty's secrets. Willow's release on bail brings her back into the fray, vowing to expose Michael's handiwork through her connections at the hospital, where nurses like Elizabeth Weber share intel on patient records that might contradict his alibis. Michael's next move? A desperate alliance with his sister Jocelyn, pulling her into the mess as she navigates her own romantic entanglements with Dex, Sonny's enforcer, creating a web of loyalties that threatens to ensnare everyone. Dante, meanwhile, grapples with divided heart, brother versus badge, consulting with his partner Sam McCall for off-the-record advice, her own history with the Corinthos clan adding layers of caution. This saga promises twists galore, from surprise witness testimonies to hidden recordings that could vindicate or condemn Michael, keeping viewers glued to their screens. Will Michael embrace the darkness fully, or pull back before it's too late? Stay tuned as these brotherly suspicions ignite a firestorm in General Hospital.